It's like, this is... So if anybody's wondering what I'm doing up here with my devices,
use the screen as the bottom.
don't move. I'm on Facebook Live. So it's like, hi, Facebook Live. But welcome, everybody, to our first 2016 WFN event. I am Deb Evans with Deb Evans Consulting, and I'm the co-geek of Social Geek Radio. Now, you get extra points if you know what Social Geek Radio is. Who knows?
I know it.
That's because you were a guest. So it's a podcast, but I'm just playing around. So the WFN, or the Women in Franchising Committee, was formed in 1996. Now, that could have been a prize, too. Oh, well. And it was dedicated to inspiring and encouraging women in franchising by creating a network of business professionals dedicated to strengthening the success of women in franchising. The WFNs, which you are attending now, is a local network designed to develop relationships with women franchising professionals and men to share ideas and offer solutions related to franchising. The Houston chapter is co-chaired by myself and some of the Pinot's Palette ladies, Jacqueline Deavenport and Haley Connor, and we're excited to have all of you join us today. We've got franchisees, we have franchisors, we have employees of the franchise, and we have suppliers. So I think we've got a pretty mix of a group here. SafeWay, thank you very much for having us, Chelsea and Ann. They are brand new IFA members as of when?
We actually just joined last year. So.
2015.
Yay!
They attended their first IFA member in meeting in San Antonio. And if you were there and you didn't see these two, I don't know how you missed it, because they were at roundtable sessions, they were at they popped into committee meetings, they volunteered. And as you can see, they volunteered to host our meeting and actually to be on the panel. So thank you both for being here. And then I do have to let you know about upcoming franchising events. Sorry, Facebook Live. We had the Franchise Development Seminar May 5th in Tampa, the Legal Symposium May 15th through the 17th in Washington, D.C., the Franchise Action Network meeting September 13th through the 15th in D.C., and FranTech, which is my favorite, is in October in Austin, Texas. So we'd love to have all of you come to these events, and then could certainly come back to the WFN meetings. So our panel is, let me introduce our panelists, and I'm going to let you guys take it over from there. We have Jacqueline Deavenport, Marketing Director of Franchise and Franchise Development of Pinot's Palette. Jacqueline's specialties are public media, media management, nonprofit marketing, corporate development, grassroots, fundraising, branding, social media, and photography, and I know you do a whole lot more. So thank you for being a panel member. And Ann Littmann is VP of SafeWay Driving. She started her professional career in the communications of Safeway back in 2011. And she is now VP of Safeway. So very good. So I'm going to let you ladies take it from here and go ahead and share some of your key takeaways from IFA and the convention that you attended.
So we're hoping too that this is going to be more of an open discussion. I'll give my takeaways. She's going to give her takeaways, and I know members of the audience here have been to IFA too, so we'd love to get your feedback as well on what some of your takeaways were too from the event. So really I had kind of three main takeaways from the IFA. Number one, building a strong culture and a strong brand. Number two, technology and communication. And number three, probably the most important, is defining franchising. So in terms of building a strong culture at Pinot's Palette, for all of you who don't know what we do and who we are, we're what's called a paint and sip franchise concept. So we're an entertainment concept, we're a retail concept. People come into our studios, they have a fun night out and a memorable experience over painting and wine. So really, to ensure that our customers have that optimal experience, it really starts with our artists, our franchise owners, all the way up to the co-founders of our business. And when they started the business, it started with that mission and values, and we harken back to those every single day. And when we're recruiting our franchisee partners. Some of the things that we look for in that recruitment process is having a passion for our business and for the brand. I mean, this is so critical that they have that feeling and that engagement with us, because that's what they're going to bring to their employees on the ground level, who then emulate that to the customers as well. So this is where we kind of create consistency between who we are as a brand and the actual culture, so what's actually happening in our studio. So we try to bring that mission and values, not only state them, but even in our recruitment process, ensuring that those people who are coming in and looking to open this business in their hometown have that same kind of personality factors, that X factor to bring to the business, so that they can espouse that mission and values in their local community. And then we also pride ourselves on open communication within our system. We want to be very transparent with our franchise owners in terms of what's going on and what's happening with the brand. We solicit them for feedback. Anything that we do, we're always constantly testing it. We push it out to our system, and the first thing that we ask is, what are you guys, what's happening? Like, what are you doing in the system? What are you seeing with this new rollout? And that kind of open line of communication, helps us improve our offering and our support as a franchisor. And then it also builds trust within our franchise system, because they know that we're there to help them and support them in the long run, and are not just taking this top-down approach where it's more dictatorship versus a collaboration. So we definitely take a more collaborative approach. And then kind of goes back to recruitment as well. We want to be very transparent when we're developing the brand and the business, what people are interested in joining our system. So, any kind of questions that they have, we're very straight and upfront with them. And we want to make sure that our goals as a system and for development align also with that individual's goals. And if they don't align, we need to take that extra step and say, here's where we see a disconnect. So we have actually, declined some people for an area because it just wasn't the right fit. And so we want to make sure that everything that we do in terms of franchise recruitment is very transparent, and that it's a win-win for both parties. So those are some of the key things that we're doing to help build that culture and that brand. The second thing, which kind of blew me away, is some of the stats that they had at IFA for technology and communications, especially some of these, like 25% of U.S. households don't have cable. By 2020, 80% of adults will have a smartphone, and Americans spend 2.7 hours per day on their mobile device. So mobile use is huge, and as a franchisor, this mobile strategy needs to be front and center, especially if you're a retail concept like Pinot's Palette. So that is something that we're on the forefront of. We're about to launch a new website here pretty soon. I'm looking at Charles, he's our president. Sure. I was like, can I say that? I just said that.
You said it, and you said it live.
It's online. So we're about to launch a new website, and within that, mobile is the first priority. We were actually the first paint and sip to launch a mobile app for our customers as well. So taking mobile and having that as a forefront in your marketing strategy is critical. Some other developments in terms of technology and marketing, the use of video is huge. We use it in our recruitment process. We let our franchisee partners tell their story. Public relations too, kind of thinking outside of the box in terms of how you tell your brand story. It's not this kind of transactional kind of communication anymore. It's about building a relationship with your constituents. And then also loyalty and rewards programs, huge. Dunkin' Donuts had a whole presentation dedicated to their rewards program. I recommend you go to the IFA conference website and look up their presentation. It has some really staggering facts and some really innovative things that they're doing. So if you're a retail concept and you're looking at a rewards program, definitely take a look at the website and look at that. And then the final thing is defining franchising. We're all in the industry, so we know what it's like and we know what it is day to day. But people who are outside of franchising might not really know or have misconceptions about what we do in our industry. So everyone here kind of has a responsibility to tell that story and to get out and kind of change the face of franchising. Some of the misconceptions within the industry that came up were that non-franchises are viewed more favorably than franchises. So, we need to find out why that is and then change that conversation. Franchising is not really entirely understood by the public. So some of the statistics that the IFA puts out is that franchising provides 9.1 million jobs. I mean, that's the entire Manhattan Island. That's a ton of people, and contributes to $944 billion to the U.S. economy each year, which equates to 3% of the U.S. GDP. It's huge. I mean, we have a huge impact. So the main takeaway from that event is, we have to get out and tell our story and let people know and change the face of franchising and define who we are.
Very good. I have a question for you. So I think a lot of the franchisors at IFA were mentioning that they had mobile apps, since that seems to be the trend to have an app. How are you guys using the app? I mean, is it for registration for your classes or?
Yes. So on the mobile app, we use it for booking for classes. So it's an added convenience to our franchise, our customers rather, that they can go online, they can favorite or heart their studio, and they can get like push notifications from that studio, and then they can also go through and see their the classes from that studio as well. They can book directly online. It's a very seamless kind of transaction. And most of the time when you're looking up your food restaurants or looking for a place to eat, you're on your phone. And that's just the nature being in the entertainment industry and in the food and retail space. It's like people are out there on their phone, they're trying to figure out what to do. So we knew that our customers were on their phone. So this just takes a step out of the process when they can just click on the app and then, book their class right then and there.
Very good. I know we have a few franchisees that are here. So is that the responsibility of the franchisee, to manage the mobile app?
No, the mobile app is actually hosted at corporate, and we support it at the headquarters level. And then our franchisees, they can send out push notifications to their customer base or to those customers that have hearted their studio, but they don't have to worry about the updates or any of the complex programming parts of that. We take care of all that.
Very good. Do you have any other questions for Jacqueline before we ask Ann to share her takeaways? Thank you, Jacqueline.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Great. Those are really awesome takeaways. Some of mine kind of go along with what Jacqueline said. So I had 4 takeaways from IFA, being a first-time member going in. So one of mine is the story behind the brand story. And then that goes into maintaining your focus on your why as a franchisor and a franchisee, really not losing sight of that. Third takeaway is people overshare, so we need to give them the tools to be able to do so. And
really? People
I
overshare?
know. We're doing 2 media streams right now. And then the fourth is, again, changing the narrative around franchising. That was one of the main things that we kind of took away from it, especially as a first-time franchisor attending. So the first one's the story behind the brand story. And this is something that was really convicting to me because SafeWay Driving, we're a driver training concept. We've been around for 45 years. We just started franchising in 2014. And really, we got started because we were run by a coach who was tired of not seeing all of his students come back after the summer break because of car incidents. Something happened to them, and he just really got tired of that, and so he wanted to make a change. So he started a driver training concept. He actually is a driver training guru. He trained a lot of the other driver education providers here in the Houston area before we kind of took over, modernized it, turned the curriculum online. We also have a mobile app that our instructors use to grade students, and we created Drive Center so it has an ease of portal for our consumers and for our franchisees to use. So one of the things that we love to talk about is our story, why we got started. We're here to save lives, and it's a great story. but our franchisees have a better one. Rick Nussel is one of our franchisees. He's here today. He was actually our first franchisee. He came into our system, really bought into the story, was good friends with our owners beforehand, and starting off with just one location. He bought all of Katy. So ours is like by school zone territories, and he came out and he took 7. And the reason that he did that was not just he identified with our mission, but he's a member of the Katy community. He knows those students, he knows those parents. His story is better than our story because it impacts at the local level. And so we need to give our franchisees the tools to be able to share those stories and to get those out, because that humanizes the brand, it connects with it, and it helps with the franchising story that we're trying to tell is we're local, we're in your communities, this is why we're doing what we do. It also helps from a franchise development perspective because your franchisees are the best ones to sell your franchise concept. They're happy about it, it's a lifestyle choice that they chose to make, but they're also making a difference in that it's a community and social impact as well. So we want to make sure that we're not just telling our brand story, which is great. We do that a great job at the national level being able to tell that and get the story out there. We want to give our franchisees the tools and the support to be able to get theirs out there as well. And that goes into maintaining our focus on our why. I attended a panel where the president of Orange Leaf was actually on there, which is a yogurt concept. And he said his why is not about selling the best yogurt out there. It's actually about making sure that they are the best first job for a student to come out. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. They didn't focus there. That wasn't their differentiating factor, was they sell the best yogurt than any other yogurt shops out there. Because I've been to several franchise shows and there's a million yogurt concepts. You can walk around and get free samples all the time. I encourage it. It's great. It's a fun way to go. But he talked about being that great first job for that student. You know, high school student coming in, developing that high school student so that they have the tools that they need to be able to move on to a job at the next level. And I thought that was such an interesting why to have and completely different from what you would have thought. But that's something that their franchisees identify with. So they go out and they make sure that they're focusing on their students who are working there. Happy employees equals happy customers. It's a great experience. It ties back into the local community, really making a difference there. So knowing what your why is, and it might not be as obvious. I mean, yours is about an experience. Ours is about saving lives, which is a great why to have. But every concept has a why. And if you lose sight of that, just like you were talking about with bringing new franchisees into the system, if you don't have someone who aligns with that, your brand isn't going to be able to have the reach that it can have. And it's really easy to get bogged down every day in the how or the what do we do or how do we do this, what do we need to do today. A franchisee coming into your store, you know, what are the steps that I need to take? Franchisor, you know, we have a system, we want to make sure that they're following the system. But everything stems from that why. And if you're all aligned in the why, your brand is going to be very strong. It's going to have a strong impact. Those stories are going to get out there. You're going to have more customers come in, and you're going to achieve your goal of getting and keeping more customers and making sure that they have those on-brand experiences. The next one is people overshare, so give them the tools to do so. Deb laughs. But go out to a restaurant, and how many people are just sitting there on their phones instead of having a conversation with the person who's sitting across the table from them? That's how we communicate now. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We joke around because Chelsea and I are not on Snapchat, but we have several employees who are. We can't figure it out. So
all of our teenagers.
Not all of our teenagers are. But that's how people communicate these days. And they want to share those experiences. And every experience that they have with your brand is an experience. It's a moment. It's a lifetime choice that they're making. They're choosing to come to your location for that reason. So we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to know this is the experience we want them to be able to share. So giving them the tools is not just letting them know you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, but giving them hashtags that you use them consistently, and they're able to get those out and kind of move into the marketplace with those. For SafeWay Driving, you know, we have kind of milestone events. A student's first drive, the first time they get their permit, passing the DPS test, you know, will they actually get their license? Those are huge milestone events that they can share with their friends. You know, that stuff lives on Facebook forever, profile pictures. If you give them an experience that they want to share with everyone and that can make it into a profile picture, not only does that get liked and moved around several times, but if it becomes a lifetime event on that student's Facebook timeline, Facebook now reminds you of that lifetime event that you had 6 months ago, and then that's reshared out across the content. So it's creating that experience for it to go across all different users, but making it something that they want to talk about and they want to share it. They focus on making it an experience, not just a service that you have. And I think that that's a really good thing to keep in mind in everything that we do. And the last one's changing the narrative about franchising. This is something, especially being a new franchisor, we're kind of coming into it, not understanding everything that was going on kind of in the legislative landscape, so it was very eye-opening for us. And one of the things that, you know, Jacqueline had talked about is changing it with stories, and I think that that's kind of the key thing that we need to do. And I heard a lot of talk. I sat in on some panels where people were trying to decide, is it the franchisor's job to change this, or is it the franchisees? And it's both. The franchisor level, franchising is what we do. But if franchisees are buying into the system, they're just as part of it. And franchising and the understanding around that is just as important at the franchisee level as it is at the franchisor. So sharing those stories about being, locally owned, but, system supported or nationally supported. We can't lose sight of the mom and pops, because that's kind of the negative attitude around franchising, is that there's these big chains and they're coming in, they're taking over everything. But that's not what franchising is. It's about empowering local owners to be able to own their own business without being alone. And so it's making sure that we're getting those stories out there. Franchisees showing how they're impacting the local economy and local jobs, with, Orange Leaf employing, high school students, and they're changing, their ability to go on to college with a new skill set that they wouldn't have had before. It's getting those kinds of stories out there that's going to start changing the narrative around franchising. And it's all of our responsibility to go out and do that and make sure that we're carrying that in communications, whether it's on social media, we get the opportunity to be on the local news, sharing that kind of story out there so that we can really make that difference and change the way that people view franchising, because it's only going to benefit all of us. So those are my takeaways.
And since she mentioned the local news, I'm going to have to share. Terry McCullough is here from Any Lab Test Now. Terry, I'm going to pass it this way. And she is going to be on the local news tonight at 10 o'clock on Channel 2 for Any Lab Test Now. So she's going to be telling the franchise story for Any Lab Test Now.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
You're not going to give us a sneak peek? We have to watch tonight?
You gotta watch.
We got to watch.
Right. KPRC.
Very good. So do we have any questions for Ann or Jacqueline, or anybody else want to share what they, some key takeaways from IFA? I know Haley was there and Charles was there. Anyone else?
Chelsea was there, so I know
Chelsea
we can pick
is
on
there.
her.
Chelsea's, I'm saving her. She's there. Just hold on. We're going to pick on Chelsea yet. No?
I gotta get out of being on the panel. I just had the easy job of sitting here.
No, these ladies, you're gonna for Frantech. So you're gonna share some of the takeaways that you may have.
Well, I do want to add on the narrative around franchising. What Ann mentioned to the mom and pop. What really hit us was when they said don't attack the mom and pop because they are the mom and pop, and it's so true because. With every single franchisee that we've had come on, I've been at each and every one of those signing days, and it's not just that one franchisee coming on, it's his spouse, it's his kids, and the whole family gets there, and it's really a family event, and it is. They are a mom and pop, or they're a local community. So because we would do it in our industry because we're in driver's ed, and there's a negative connotation in driver education for like the local mom and pop driving school because it's corrupt or they don't follow the standards or they don't provide the best training. So we would use that in our own narrative. We would catch ourselves using it, and at the same time it was hurting us from the franchising perspective, and we've had to really go in, retrain our contact center. Ann's caught me doing it a few times, I've caught her doing it a few times, and just hold ourselves really accountable because Rick's a mom and pop. He's out in the community. He's the local face, and we can't cut that aspect of it down at all. So I really think that's something to remember and just really drive home because you can't take that for granted at all. And then I guess to provide kind of a different takeaway, you guys had such good ones, and now I'm like going through and I'm thinking about all of my events I sat at. I think one of the best pieces for me that wasn't even on our initiative list at all was we went to a PR roundtable, and it was kind of about like crises management. And one of the things the guy talked about with crisis management is each of us in our industry, we have a worst case scenario. So our worst case scenario is something happening to a student in one of our vehicles with one of our instructors. If you're in childcare, something happening to one of your students at your childcare facility. If you guys with Pinot, somebody leaving and getting in a drunk driving incident and it gets back to you, there's all those worst case scenarios. And something that they brought up and an exercise they put on top of us is instead of waiting for that to happen, think about what are the indicators ahead of that you could recognize to stop it from happening. So what are key indicators we can think of? So kind of draft up your list of your 10 worst nightmares. What are the 10 crisis nightmares you would hate to face or have your franchisees face? And then what are indicators that could happen or might be happening now for you to look for and be ahead of? So for us, it's instructors coming in late. Like a key indicator for an instructor's misuse of the vehicle, we have a fleet monitoring software in all of our vehicles. We do get alerts, but there's also places that they could go and park the car or do things like that, or if they're speeding. And some of that stuff, if it doesn't hit a certain level, we don't get an alert. So going in and regularly monitoring that, and if there's those red flags of speeding or extended idle time, that's an indicator that one of these crises could be happening or could lead to that. And then, of course, from there, go ahead and take it to the next level and have a crisis activation matrix on when that crisis happens. What do you need to do from, internally for your communication? Who do you need to contact? What message do you need to say? And how do you need to follow through with it? Because it's all about being proactive. So the fact of catching something ahead of time really stood out to me in finding those indicators.
Very good.
Deb, I'd like to add something regarding being an ambassador to franchising. For those that don't know me, my name is Paul Segretto, and I'm the CEO of Franchise Foundry. And good to see you, although I heard you on the radio, on my radio show. It's interesting over the years how many people don't understand what franchising is about. And I'm not even talking about, mainstream mom and pops, because all our franchisees are mom and pop operators. You're in the local market. But a few years back, American Express, has Small Business Saturday. And this is something I'm very passionate about because I was promoting it to all the brands we work with, to their franchisees. I said, get involved in Small Business Saturday. And this was the second year they had done it. This was 4 or 5 years ago. And one of the franchisees came back to me with the Small Business Saturday contract from American Express, and it's ready to answer the phone. So I took to social media, which everybody knows that knows me knows I'm on there quite a bit. And I just started pounding out, and I started tagging every American Express profile that I could find. And let me tell you, there's a lot of them for American Express. And the days went on, getting closer to Small Business Saturday, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and I'm not getting any response, except I started getting responses from the Wall Street Journal, from 8 Magazine, Success Magazine, Entrepreneur Magazine, asking questions, what is this all about? So there's a reason for using social media. Your message is resonating out there. So I started talking to them about it, and I said, I can't understand. Franchising is everything about being a small business, and American Express is leaving us out of Small Business Saturday. And there was articles about it, still no response from American Express. Thanksgiving came and went, and the Friday before, which of course is the biggest retail day of the year, I'm pounding away on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. Anybody to respond, I can't get a response. And now I'm mad. I am furious because I want our message about franchising to be heard. And on that Saturday morning, I went on Twitter with a absolutely aggressive campaign to get American Express to just stop and listen. And I basically said, everybody in franchising, I'm tagging it and hashtagging it and everything along the way, said we should stop taking the American Express card. And I got a private message on Twitter from a senior VP of American Express saying, please call me, here's my number. And I called her, and she was in the back seat of a cab at the time. She said, please stop. She said, and let me explain why I'm asking you that. And she said, we don't understand franchising. And the following week, I got to sit down with 13 senior executives from American Express, extremely educated people that had no clue what franchising was about. They thought franchising was McDonald's. And they're the all-almighty, and they even had the misperception that McDonald's spent all the money on marketing, and the franchisees had this tremendous advantage that they didn't have to spend any money on marketing. Boy, obviously, they're wrong. So we battled back and forth, debated back and forth, and they really just didn't understand it. There was MBAs sitting at the table, and they just didn't get it. And I've been on my own campaign with them every year. Around August, I start up again and say, hey, what about franchising? And I think this last year, they now are allowing franchises in with up to 150 units. And now it's become, this thing that they want to start to just add more and more, but they really don't understand it. And when you look at what's going on with the NLRB and the different legislative action that's taking place, like in Seattle, you had that whole city council in Seattle had no clue what franchising was about. So it's up to everyone in the local market to promote what franchising is about. It's no different than the mom and pop on Main Street, USA. And you're exactly right. Don't put down the mom and pops. They're making the same investment like anybody else. But we are, as franchisees and franchisors, every bit the small business owner as any mom and pop on Main Street, USA.
Good.
Thanks.
Very good. Did you want to read Asim's note? So Asim,
Aziz Hashim.
got it, is the incoming IFA chair. And I think he had a great message as we were leaving and closing the convention, and I think Chelsea's going to read it for us.
With the IFA, it was really clear at the convention, and it's really clear for anybody who participates in it, that it's really our mission to work on changing the narrative around franchising, getting our franchisees involved. There is the Franchise Action Network for franchisees. Any way you can participate, and Aziz really drove it home at the end. He said, to become ambassadors for the franchise model as well as their own brands, and to educate people on what franchising truly is, a reliable way to be in business for yourself but not by yourself. Franchising is the most reliable path to the American dream and represents for Americans tangible hope for a brighter future. And we as an association need to make sure everyone knows about it. So, I think everybody who participated in IFA, I know we came back and we thought about how can Safeway work on taking this to the next level, integrating it into our culture, integrating it into our marketing initiatives, our brand initiatives, because it does affect us. The franchising community, for as big as we are and how much we contribute, it's a small community. Everybody really knows everybody, and one franchise concept not buying in could hurt the entire franchise model. So it's really about coming together and working on that and getting the franchisees involved, because if it's just the franchisors working on it, it's not going to have the same impact as the franchisees who are the ones getting that success from the participation of a franchise model.
Very good, very good. So with that said, we thought that we just, leave everybody with that thought about franchising and what can roles in the franchise industry to continue that relationship, because I think by far, personally, that was one of the best IFA conventions we've had. It was just that family feeling that, we're in it together and let's, build the industry. So, we'd like to do that with the Houston Business Network and Women in Franchise Network, and thank all of you for being here. And until we see you again, we're going to plan like September, October to have the next one. So thank you very much, and it's great having you guys here.